I'm 81 years old, and 6 months ago, I got a letter that destroyed everything I thought I'd built. It was anonymous, 3 pages, handwritten from someone whose life I would ruined while I was busy being the town's favorite do-gooder. The letter started with, "You don't remember me, but I've spent 20 years trying to forget you."
I sat in my study with that letter, surrounded by plaques and photos of me shaking hands with senators and cutting ribbons and accepting awards. All these trophies proving what a good person I was. And all I could think was, none of this means anything. I spent 60 years building a reputation, and I never actually built a character to match it. Here's what nobody tells you about looking good. It's not the same as being good. And by the time you figure out the difference, you've hurt a lot of people in the name of protecting your image. I'm making this video because I see it everywhere. People performing goodness instead of practicing it, people collecting evidence of their virtue instead of actually developing virtue, people more concerned with what others think than who they actually are. And I need you to know what that costs, because I paid for it. And so did everyone who got in the way of my carefully managed reputation. Let me tell you what happened. 6 months ago, this letter arrived. No return address. Postmarked from 2 states away. It was from a young man I'd mentored or claimed to mentor 30 years ago. His name was in the letter, but I'm not going to share it because I've done enough damage to him already. He wrote about how I'd taken him under my wing when he was 19, how I'd told everyone in town I was helping this disadvantaged kid, how I'd made sure the local newspaper covered our mentorship, how I gave speeches about the importance of giving back and always mentioned him as my example. And then he wrote about what actually happened behind closed doors, how I'd canceled on him constantly because better opportunities came up, how I'd ignored his calls unless I needed him for a photo op, how when he came to me desperate for advice about a real problem, I told him I was too busy and suggested he figure it out. How when he failed, when he really needed someone, I distanced myself because his struggles didn't fit the success story I'd been telling. He wrote, "You didn't want to help me, you wanted to be seen helping me. And the moment that stopped being convenient for your image, I stopped existing to you." I read that letter 4 times before I could move, because he was right about all of it. Let me tell you the biggest lie I told myself for most of my life. Perception is reality. What people think of you matters more than what you actually are. Your reputation is your most valuable asset. Manage your image, and the rest will follow. You know what? That's not wisdom. That's not strategic thinking. That's not playing the game smart. That's vanity and cowardice, dressed up as pragmatism. I see people everywhere, especially young people climbing their careers, and they're all saying some version of this. When I have enough followers, when I have the right title, when people recognize me, when I'm known for this thing, then I'll focus on actually being that thing. Build the brand first. Become the person later. Let me save you 60 years of emptiness with one simple truth. You can't build a real life on a fake foundation. You know why? Because the image requires constant maintenance. You're always performing, always calculating, always asking, how does this make me look instead of is this right? And before you know it, you're 81 and you don't actually know who you are underneath the performance. I was on the town council for 28 years. Started when I was 33. I ran on a platform of community service and putting people first. And I did serve. On paper, I was incredibly dedicated. I volunteered at the food bank every Thanksgiving. I sponsored Little League teams, I organized coat drives. I showed up at every ribbon cutting and fundraiser and community meeting. But here's what I actually cared about: being seen doing those things. I volunteered at the food bank on Thanksgiving because the newspaper always covered it. I made sure I was in the photo, front and center, serving turkey with a big smile. But the food bank needed volunteers every Tuesday morning to sort donations and stock shelves. Boring work, no cameras, no recognition. I never went. Not once in 28 years. I sponsored Little League teams and made sure my name was on every jersey. But I went to maybe 3 games total per season. Didn't know the kids' names. Didn't care about their development. Just wanted my business name associated with wholesome family values. The coat drive? I'd show up for the kickoff event, give a speech about compassion and community, make sure someone got photos of me holding coats. Then I'd leave and never think about it again until next year's kickoff. I was performing charity, not practicing it. One year, about 15 years ago, a woman named Patricia came to my office. She was maybe 40. Single mother, worked 2 jobs, struggling to keep her heat on during winter. She'd heard I was the guy who helped people. All those newspaper articles said so. She asked if I could help her navigate the assistance programs, maybe make some calls on her behalf to speed up the process. Nothing dramatic, just needed someone with connections to help her cut through bureaucracy. I told her I'd see what I could do, made her feel heard, sent her away hopeful, and then I did nothing. Because helping Patricia wouldn't be public, wouldn't generate good PR. Was just time-consuming grunt work that nobody would know about. 3 weeks later, her heat got shut off. She and her 2 kids spent January in a house with no heat because I couldn't be bothered to make 2 phone calls. But you know what I did that same month? I gave a speech at the Rotary Club about the importance of looking out for our neighbors. Got a standing ovation. Is that the person you want to be? My wife knew. Carol. We were married for 54 years. She died 2 years ago. She never said it directly, but she knew there was a gap between who I appeared to be and who I actually was. I remember one night, had to be 20 years ago, we were getting ready for some gala. I was receiving an award for community leadership. I was adjusting my tie, talking about the speech I'd prepared, running through my humble acceptance routine. Carol was sitting on the bed watching me, and she said something that I dismissed at the time, but that haunts me now. She said, "Peter, do you ever wonder what it would be like to actually be the person everyone thinks you are?" I laughed it off, said I was that person, said she was being cynical. She didn't push it. Just said, "Okay, honey," and finished getting dressed. But that question, did you ever wonder what it would be like to actually be the person everyone thinks you are? She was telling me the truth, that I was living a lie, that I'd built this elaborate character I played in public, but never actually developed that character in private. And I ignored her because acknowledging it would have meant changing, and changing would have been hard. After she died, I found a journal she'd kept. I wasn't snooping. Her sister gave it to me, said Carol wanted me to have it. There's an entry from about 10 years ago. She wrote, "Peter got another award today, Community Champion of the Year. He was so proud. He practiced his speech in the mirror for a week. I watched him accept it with tears in his eyes. And all I could think was, he believes it. He's performed the role so long, he actually believes he is this person. I don't know if I should tell him the truth or just let him have his delusion. It seems cruel to take that away from him now. I wasn't building a life. I was curating an image, And the person I actually was in my daily choices and private moments never got developed. If you're more concerned with how you appear than who you are, I want you to ask yourself some hard questions. When's the last time you did something good that nobody would ever know about? When's the last time you helped someone with absolutely no possibility of recognition or reward? Do you post about your charity work more than you actually do charity work? Do you make decisions based on, is this right, or based on, how will this look? When you're alone, when nobody's watching, when there's no social media to document it and no audience to impress, who are you actually? If you can't answer that, you're making the same mistake I made. Your reputation isn't actually yours. It's what other people think. It changes based on trends and gossip and misunderstandings. You can't control it, not really, no matter how hard you try. But your character, that's who you actually are. That's what you do when nobody's looking. That's the choices you make when they don't benefit you. That's how you treat people who can't do anything for you. And character doesn't require an audience. Character doesn't need applause. Character just is. I had a young guy who worked for me, must be about 12 years ago now. Danny. Smart kid, just out of college. Eager to make a difference. He came to me one day with an idea for a program that would actually help people. It was smart, well-researched, would have genuine impact, but it was complicated. Would take months to set up. Wouldn't have any quick wins or photo opportunities. I told him it was too ambitious. Steered him towards something flashier, something we could launch in a month with a big press event. Danny pushed back. Said the flashy thing was all show, no substance. Said we had a responsibility to actually help, not just appear to help. I remember what I told him. I said, Danny, you're young. You'll learn. In the real world, appearing to help and actually helping are the same thing. Perception is reality. If people think we're doing good work, we are doing good work. He quit 2 weeks later. Said he didn't want to become what I'd become. At the time, I thought he was naive, idealistic, didn't understand how the world worked. Now I realize he was the only person in that office with any integrity. And I was the one who didn't understand how life actually works. Being good isn't something you perform for an audience. Being good is something you practice every day in small ways and big ways. It's helping when nobody will know. It's doing the right thing even when it costs you. It's admitting when you're wrong instead of protecting your image. It's showing up for people who can't boost your reputation. It's developing actual values instead of collecting evidence that you have values. After the letter arrived, after I spent weeks thinking about all the people I'd hurt while maintaining my image, I did something I should have done decades ago. I stopped accepting awards, stopped going to galas, stopped giving speeches, and I started actually showing up. I volunteer at the food bank on Tuesday mornings now. Nobody takes photos, nobody writes articles. I just sort cans and stock shelves alongside people whose names I'm learning. I tutor kids in reading at the library, one-on-one, quiet work. No recognition. Just showing up every week and helping a child learn. I reached out to Patricia. Took me 3 months to find her. She didn't want to see me at first. When she finally agreed, I apologized. Told her the truth, that I'd failed her because I was more concerned with my image than her actual need. Didn't ask for forgiveness, just acknowledged the harm. I wrote to every person I could remember letting down in my pursuit of looking good. Some responded, most didn't. I don't blame them. I can't fix what I broke. I can't get back the 60 years I spent building a monument to myself. instead of actually developing character. But I can stop lying. I can stop performing. If I could go back and talk to my 33-year-old self, here's what I would say. Stop caring what people think. Stop managing your image. Stop calculating how every action affects your reputation. Stop collecting evidence of your goodness and start actually being good. Start helping when nobody's watching. Start doing right when it costs you. Start developing real values instead of performing them. Start building character instead of polishing your brand. And most importantly, start now. Not after you've established yourself. Not after you have the platform. Not after you've built the reputation now. Because I promise you, the image you're building is hollow. And when you're old and alone with yourself, you'll realize you don't actually know who you are. I'm 81. If I'm lucky, maybe 5 more years. Maybe 10 if blessed. Probably less. And I'm okay with that because these last 6 months have been the first time in my life I've actually tried to be good instead of look good. I have no plaques on my wall anymore. Gave them all away, no photos of me with important people. Donated the trophies. My house is quieter, smaller. I don't get invited to galas or asked to give speeches. My name isn't in the newspaper. And I'm happier now at 81, unknown and trying to develop actual character, than I was at 50 when everyone knew my name and nobody knew me. That's the irony. When you stop performing for an audience, you start actually living. You have a choice right now, today. Keep curating your image. Keep collecting evidence of your goodness. Keep performing virtue instead of practicing it. Keep asking, how does this make me look, instead of, is this right? Keep building a reputation on a hollow foundation. Or wake up. Realize that character matters more than reputation. That who you are in private is more important than who you appear to be in public. That the life you're performing isn't the same as the life you're living. I can't make this choice for you. But I can tell you, you don't want to be 81 reading a letter from someone you hurt while you were busy accepting awards for being helpful. Don't waste 60 years looking good while being empty. Learn from my mistake.
Help when nobody's watching. Do right when it costs you. Develop character, not an image. Be the person you pretend to be.
Who you actually are matters more than what people think you are. If this resonates, share this video. Leave a comment about one thing you're going to do this week that nobody will ever know about.
Subscribe because I have more confessions to share and not much time left to make them. The clock is ticking. Who are you going to be when nobody's watching?